So it's been a minute since I've read a really good mystery. And I honestly think the last really good mystery book I read was How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. And so today we're going to talk about the second book that comes after that one, which is her newest, called How to Seal Your Own Fate. And is it as good as the first one? I thought it was pretty good. That first one, though, hard to beat, but it was a really great follow-up. So this one, the first one had been you follow the main character, Annie Adams. Her great aunt Frances had been told this fortune when she was 17 that she was going to be murdered. And so her whole life she spent obsessing about who was going to kill her. And then she didn't end up being murdered until she was in her 70s. And when this happened, Annie had been on her way to actually meet her great aunt for the first time. And then this ends up happening. And then Annie ends up solving the murder of who had killed her great aunt. Now we're in the second book and she's getting settled in. She inherited her aunt's estate and all that came with it. And she's outside walking and she comes across and meets this lady called Peony Lane. And Peony Lane is a fortune teller. And that's the fortune teller that had told her great Aunt Frances that fortune. And she goes to her and she's like, you need to look into this woman, Olivia Gravesdown. And the Gravedowns are Frances had been married to one of the Gravedowns. So like there's this whole like family history of these like greedy, evil, rich people that were kind of horrible and committed a bunch of crimes and were just garbage people. But it seems as though Olivia Gravestown was murdered. But what it looked like was just a tragedy of a car accident that Olivia, her husband, and then the father of her husband all died in because the car's brakes supposedly went out. And what's funny about that is the reason that the brakes supposedly went out is possibly that Peony Lane, when she was younger, had gone with another person and they had kind of effed up that car that they were driving. They cut the brake line, they smashed the windows, they did a bunch of stuff. And supposedly, when it was prepared, they never fixed the brake line and then they crashed. But they also are like, okay, is that really what happened? Or was she already dead? And da 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 da. So she's like, you need to look into this. And so Annie's like, what? And then she's also like, and I have a fortune for you. And she's like, I don't really want to hear your fortunes. You told my aunt she was going to be murdered. I think I'm good for now. But she has all her aunt's files because her aunt was obsessed with all this. And so she was trying to figure out who's going to kill her. So she has all these files on like everyone from the town. So Annie's like, all right, I'm going to look into this. But first I'm going over to the Foyles, Archie Foyle, his and Beth and his brother. They live on this farm that's kind of like on the properties of the Gravesdown estate, and they work on classic cars. They used to have a business that was like selling marijuana, but now they don't do that. They're a little more legit and legal. So she's going over there. Peony Lane also says, you're on your way over there and you're going to find something that is going to lead you down this path or whatever. And so she's like, okay, whatever. So she's going over to Archie's. She hears this like weird thumping noise by the water wheel that's near the farm, and eventually she goes over there and like she finds this like dagger that was stuck in the water wheel. And so this dagger was like this rumored dagger that supposedly someone had used to kill someone, was this rumor. I don't want to say too much about the mystery to give away too much stuff. So, and this was the murder weapon. And she's like, what the F? This was the a fabled murder weapon from so many years ago. So she takes it and then she walks into Archie's house and starts talking to him. But then she also notices that it looks like he has some of her aunt's diaries on his bookshelf. And she's like, what the F? And he gets all weird about it when she asks about it. And she's like, can I see them? And he's like, no. And she's like, what the heck is this guy acting so suspicious? And she shows him the dagger. She's like, I'm probably going to take this to the police because this was rumored to be this, this, and this. He's acting all weird, but he's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you might as well take the dagger to the police, see what they say, this, that, and the other. So it's all this weird stuff just starts happening all at once. And then later that day, Peony Lane, the fortune teller, is found dead in Annie's house in the solarium. And the solarium is like this big room of like tropical plants and stuff. And she's found in the back. So also, She had gone to the police station, Annie, with that dagger, and she was talking to Detective Crane, who they had a pretty decent rapport because she had worked with him when helping to solve her aunt's murder prior. She's talking to him about that, but there's this new like commissioner or chief inspector or whatever. There's a new boss at the police station, and he is a pompous a-hole and tries to just like do everybody's job and look over their shoulder, and he sucks butt, like giant butt. He basically looks at the dagger and he's like, "Oh, that's a waste of time. You don't need to follow up on that. That's a cold case or whatever. Like that's we don't have the money to look into that." And he's like, "Just take that home. It's an antique. It's probably worth a bunch of money, and it belonged to the gravestone, so it actually belongs to you." Da 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 da. And she's like, "Okay." So she takes it home. And when she gets home, her friend has come to stay with her, and she's there. So she greets her friend, they go in, she puts the dagger down in the kitchen, and then they talk and they walk through the house, and then they go in the solarium. I don't know how much time passes, but after a little bit of tea and talking, they see like that there was a bird in the solarium because they get in somehow, there's a bunch of plants, it's beautiful, there's windows, so, nice environment for birds to sneak in. But they see there's like these red prints of the bird feet. And they're like, what the heck? And they follow them, and then they find the body of Peony Lane. And that dagger that she had earlier was stuck in the back of her. So someone was in the house with them. So then they call the cops, and it sets off this whole crazy thing. And so you have a current murder, but then also that Peony Lane had been like, you need to look into this Olivia Gravestone woman. And then when she goes to look for all these files, they're missing. Dun dun dun. And she's been feeling like the town has been giving her the cold shoulder. You have this new police chief inspector, and he seems like he's just effing up stuff, like when people are trying to go and do their jobs, like just looking over Crane's shoulder way too much and muddying the evidence and just like, okay, what is this guy's deal? Why is he ruining everything? And then it looks like they're trying to pin the blame on Annie, like Annie did it, but thankfully her friend was there with her. So then they have to get like all the different alibis, like how do people get into the house, who's been coming in and out. And there had also been like a bakery delivery that day that was from Archie's granddaughter, Beth, that lives with him. So she's like, Beth was just like in my house. She has the keys. So that's not looking good either. It's a crazy mystery. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. A few twists and turns. There's definitely a red herring that you think, oh, maybe it's them, but the person you think it is the most, if it's a good mystery, it's never going to be that person. I mean, hopefully, I don't know. In the beginning, I felt it did move a little slowly, but I think the other book was a little bit slow in the beginning too, as you like get into it, because you gotta set the scene for the mystery, and you gotta place suspicion from like everybody. So it took a little bit for me to get into it, but once I did, I was wholly invested in finding out what the heck happened. And I really enjoyed this one too. I didn't 100% love it as much as the first one, but I still liked it a lot. And if you liked the first book, if you like mysteries, this was a fun one. It was a really fun murder mystery, and I would definitely recommend the series. It's the Castle Knoll series by Kristen Perrin. So if you haven't read How to Solve Your Own Murder yet, maybe read that one first. I think you could read them without reading the other, because I feel like a lot of mystery series you can. Because I've read some, like some of those cozy ones that are like Strawberry Swirl Cinnamon Shop Murders or whatever they're called, or the Pumpkin Pageant Murders. Like I'll jump in on like book 4, and it's with a mystery series, I don't feel like it's insanely important to read all of them in order. That's just me. Maybe you want to read them in order, and that's fine too. Yeah, both of these were pretty dang good. If you want to hear more about the first one and you haven't, I will put a link down to that in the description if you want to check it out. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.